Hi guys, it is Tamara. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about stalkers. And the only reason I choose this topic is because, we've been talking about, the last video that I did, we talked about therapists and kind of what they deal with. And so this video is not just going to be about therapists, but I'm going to also add them to the mix. But I'm also going to talk about some of you and what you may personally have dealt with, or something that you are dealing with right now. Now, I get a ton of emails, tweets, and the list goes on about stalking because it's really a bigger situation than a lot of people would like to think. So we're going to just zone in on that. So let's go ahead and jump in. So thank you so much for coming back to my channel. For all of you who are subscribed and participating, thank you so much. And for those who are new, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button so you can stick around with us and be a part of our growing and our validating community. And in case you don't know who I am, let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Tamara, and I'm an internationally and board certified trauma therapist. I'm also licensed in mental health, and I specialize within my private practice treating children, teens, families, as well as adults. Let's jump in. So, dealing with stalking is something that I don't think human beings deserve. It's not, something that we expect to happen, even when we're in a romantic relationship, even when, the World Wide Web is so full of social media devices and apps and access to records, the list goes on. I still don't think that stalking is something that anybody deserves, okay? Even though, again, the resources are right at your fingertips, it is not in the best interest of the stalker or the victim to actually create that kind of a situation. Really, both individuals end up paying the price. But unfortunately, a lot of stalkers don't believe that they're going to pay the price because, they tend to be motivated by something on the inside. And sometimes that motivation is really sick and psychotic. I talk about psychotic stalkers right up here in this video, and I did a whole series on stalkers not too long ago. So I encourage you to search my channel and find those videos. You can even search YouTube. If you just put my name in and then put stalkers in, you'll see those videos pop up. But in today's video, I want to highlight the different kinds of stalkers, and I've done this in this video right up here if you want to check that out. I've mentioned a little bit of different information there, so you may find that helpful. But I'm going to go through, the different stalker profiles, what they look like, what they do, and then I'm going to zone in really, really closely on one particular stalker. And I'm going to do that with each stalking profile. So, for example, there are intimacy seekers, there are rejected and resentful stalkers. And so I'm going to zone in on that particular stalker. And then the next video, I'm going to zone in on the rejected stalker. And then in the next video, I'm going to do the same thing. So we're going to really look at these details here. And I hope this series will be helpful to you. I also want to mention, too, that I'm including therapists. Because as I mentioned in this video right up here that I recently did, therapists go through a lot, and sometimes they go through, having patients who feel rejected stalk them. Sometimes, they really do create an uncomfortable situation for the therapist. So therapists are also included in this video. Let's jump in, okay, to the different kind of stalkers that there are. So, one thing that I found on WebMD is that about 370,000 men deal with stalking. And about over 1 million women deal with stalking as well. It's a huge number, but it should not be. My question before I became a therapist has always been, what gives another person the right to stalk someone? Whether you're stalking someone and it's known or you're stalking someone and it's unknown, what gives you the right to do that? Big question mark. And, a lot of the people that come to me for psychotherapy have been stalked. And, the focus of our sessions are typically on how to maintain stability psychologically and emotionally when this happens. Even some of my supervisees, so the clinicians that I'm supervising. And so, this is huge, to have these numbers like this. Over 1 million women deal with it. That's just incomprehensible. Like, it's just hard to wrap your mind around. So, this is a huge issue. And if you go back over the video that I did on this channel in the past about stalking, I give you some more research statistics in that video. Okay. So let's go over the different kinds, and we'll go over this briefly, and then I'm going to zone in on one particular stalker. So the first kind of stalker that you're likely to see is someone known as the rejected stalker. Now, the rejected stalker is the individual that has been rejected, right? The relationship is broken off. We're no longer married. We're no longer dating. I don't have an interest in you anymore. We're no longer going to be friends. You wronged me. We're done. Whatever the rejection is, that particular stalker seeks revenge. And the only reason they seek revenge is because they can't tolerate the emotions that comes along with being rejected. Okay, it's a lot easier for them to say in their mind, okay, I was rejected, but there's still a chance, and I'm going to find that chance. And so sometimes rejected stalkers will continue to follow you, will continue to cyber stalk you, will continue to harm you, right, behind your back or even to your face, because they want revenge or because they feel they have a chance to win back the relationship. Okay, these particular individuals tend to be very immature, and sometimes they have no seat in reality. So in other words, they're not grounded in reality. They're in a whole other universe. I often like to put the rejected stalker right along with the resentful stalker. And what I mean by that is, these two individuals have the same kind of underlying issue. They don't want to be rejected. And when they're rejected, that's when they go into that full-blown spiral of stalking and harassing and abusing and spreading rumors, and the list goes on. The resentful stalker feels slighted in some way. Okay, whether that's a real or a perceived slight, they feel slighted in some way. And so in order for them to get equal with you, or in order for them to feel like they are back in your good graces, they're going to do whatever they need to do. Long emails, a series of phone calls, using, many different names on social media to get to you, going through friends and creating a triangle, which I talk about right up here in this video. They go to extraordinary measures because they don't like the emotions that goes along with being rejected, and they are feeling resentful now, and, boom, all their issues are now before you because you recognize, oh, that person is more unstable than I realized. Okay, so resentful and rejected. Now, the next kind of stalker is the incompetent stalker, and this is the individual who has no social cues. They have no awareness of, social rules, of social boundaries, of social appropriateness. They don't have the ability to, see where they're going wrong. They also don't have the ability to see where, here's the boundary, here's the line, don't do it again. They think that what they're doing is okay. And that's the sad part. So, these kind of stalkers don't get social cues. They don't understand that you're putting up the boundary and saying, it's over, it's done, or I don't want to date you, I don't want to deal with you anymore, or I can't deal with you anymore. They don't understand that. So what do? They go into this full-blown temper tantrum in whatever way they choose. And it's really difficult for them to, center themselves. They don't get the social cues. So, they may also be the kind of individuals who do not get social cues enough to get the reason why you're saying no, and they may say things like, I can't remember, or, you never said that, and maybe you've said it all, and maybe they do remember, or maybe they don't remember, who knows, but they lack the ability to be socially astute. Okay. And that's what creates the problem, because they don't understand those cues that they need to understand. The next, is the predatory stalker. And that particular stalker is the one who preys upon you, right? They want power and control, and they'll do it in whatever way they need to. They will steal, they will kill even. Most of these predatory stalkers are sociopathic and psychopathological, meaning they're psychopaths. These individuals are just cold, they're callous, they're mean. And really that's the extent of that with them, So these are basically the stalkers. Okay. I want to focus on two important ones that we talked about, which is the rejected and the resentful. And I'm going to give you 5 things that they do. So, the rejected stalker, again, is the one that has been rejected. Now, the rejection could be anything. It could be a romantic relationship. It could be a business partnership. It could be a client-therapist relationship. It could be a situation where the individual was maybe going to adopt a child and the agency rejected them. It could be anything. You know, there's actually a movie and a case that involved a rejected stalker, and it was actually a woman. She was taking care of her husband. I'm going to see if I can post the video in the description box, and I'm going to post some articles for you as well. It's a pretty famous case. It's a past case. But the woman had a child that had, I believe, had a disability, and the husband also had a disability. And she was so overwhelmed with life. Well, she set her eyes on a home that she wanted. And she looked at the home and she felt like it was everything that she's ever wanted. You know, she said it would give her family comfort and it was just her dream home. Unfortunately, the real estate agent gave the home to a younger couple instead. Who was just newlywed. You know, they were newlyweds, they were just married and, you know, interested in having children and building their life. When she found out that this couple got the house over her, she spent the next few months to years harassing them, stalking them, bothering them, trying to close them in like prisoners. And the scary part in this story, guys, is that she justified her behavior by stating she was stressed, that she was sick, that she realizes what she did, but her mind wasn't in the right place at the right time. She actually did an interview with Dr. Phil, so I will put that in the description box as well if you want to go ahead and take a sneak peek at that. But she was interviewed by a couple of really, dominant news stations, and she justified her rejected stalkerish behavior by saying that she was under stress and she lost her head. And unfortunately, a lot of rejected stalkers say things like that, you know. They don't understand that there's no justification for your behavior. You've been rejected. You have to, you know, realistically move on. You can't imprison me because I got something that you wanted, or you can't imprison me because you wanted this house and I got it instead. So, you know, it's a really, really sick situation. And she really deserved, if you ask me, to be court ordered for mental health treatment. You know, she did, I think, serve a little bit of time, but I don't think it was enough. It was more like a slap on the hand. So I will put that in the description box for you below, and I'll try to find the movie for you. I'm sure you're interested in watching that. But, you know, rejected and resentful stalkers can also be a problem for psychotherapists as well. If you have to reject a patient because it's either, you know, not the appropriate level of care, or, you know, it's a teletherapy situation where you're on the computer, but the person, you know, needs to really just be in your office to really get serious help. Or if it's a situation where you say, you know what, I can't hide your affair with your husband, and I can't listen to you tell me what you and your lover did because that's backstabbing your husband, I'm going to have to refer you, you know, that it can happen there. Maybe the patient that you're referring feels like, well, wait a minute, I know I'm having an affair, but why are you rejecting me, you know? And then that can turn into resentment. Now that resentment can really cause that individual to spiral. And there's a couple of things that these stalkers do. Again, this is the rejected and the resentful stalker. And I've noticed 5 things, and so has research. So 5 things that can happen. Here's what can happen. The individual walks away feeling rejected, resentful, and where they end up going is straight to the psychology of the whole problem in the first place, which is, I don't like being rejected. I don't like feeling ousted. I feel abandoned. I feel insecure. It could be real or perceived. Real or perceived. Whatever it is, they feel ousted. No matter how nice you put it, no matter how much you try to explain it, they feel ousted, okay? One of my biggest tips here is, you know, a rejected, resentful stalker is going to be just that. And so sometimes it's not even worth you feeding into their desire to know why. Sometimes them wanting to know why is them wanting to drag it on. Them wanting to know why is them trying to control. And so sometimes, you know, if you're the victim of this kind of a stalker, you have to make sure that you put a barrier up because that individual does not know healthy boundaries. And quite frankly, they don't care. So all they care about is that emotion they have on the inside, which is rejection. So with this kind of individual, you want to put up a barrier. You want to stop the game before it continues. You know, you don't need to always explain why. It's just a no, and it has to be that way. So that's important, whether you're a clinician or a victim of that stalking, okay? The next thing is these individuals are self-pitying. And to a certain degree, they are self-righteous. They feel, me? moi? I don't want to be rejected. Like, you're rejecting me for what, you know? And it really kind of throws them off, because most of these individuals are either narcissistic or really dependent emotionally on other people. And so when you reject them, you know, you're just like stirring that pot for them. And so let's say this is a narcissistic rejected or resentful stalker. They're going to feel like, I'm too important for you to reject me. You didn't reject me. You're wrong. And I'm going to try to fix that. You know, a stalker who is dependent emotionally is going to possibly, you know, cry and scream and have tantrums and threaten you and send you long emails and leave long voicemails and just draw the whole thing out, because they can't tolerate their need, you know, their codependency, their need to be dependent on somebody else. Okay, so self-pitying or self-righteousness. The next is that they can become very aggressive and delusional. These individuals, you know, again, they have some internal voids that need a lot of work. And, you know, if you reject them, they can either become delusional and start thinking in ways that's not true or factual or concrete. You know, they may have some really bizarre thoughts. They can also spin into aggressiveness where they threaten to harm you. And that, of course, is when you need to start getting surveillance. You need to start calling the police and filing police reports. You really need to like jump into action. Okay. The next is paranoid and defensive. So, you know, these individuals really have, again, a lot of voids. So, you know, their job is to be defensive. So I talk about defense mechanisms right up here, and you can learn a little bit about the different kinds that there are, because rejected and resentful stalkers often struggle with these particular defense mechanisms. Okay. But in terms of paranoia, they may begin to, you know, accuse you of things that don't make sense or that you haven't engaged in, because it kind of soothes their wound, right? They now have a big wound because you've rejected them, and now they are resentful. So, you know, paranoia often comes with that. And last but not least, you know, you're going to trigger their underlying perceptual difficulty. And what I mean by that is they perceive reality very different than you would expect. And so when you reject them and they become resentful, you're really triggering their perceptual difficulties, because now they're going to second guess themselves, second guess you, draw all kind of conclusions, you know, really stir the pot, triangulate and play the victim and be self-pitying, and the list goes on, and it can get really messy. So in these particular cases, you definitely want to back away, because there is no sense in trying to placate, trying to maneuver, trying to minimize, trying to calm the storm, because this individual is going to believe what they want to believe, and sometimes trying to make it better will sometimes make it worse. So you want to keep that in mind as well. So thank you so much, guys, for being with me today in this video. I encourage you to give it a thumbs up if it was helpful, and go ahead and hit that subscribe button to stick around with us and get alerts. Hit that bell button so that you can get alerts, so that you can know when I'm posting new videos. We're going to continue to talk about stalkers. So the next video would be on incompetent stalkers, and I'm going to kind of delve into some details on that. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.